Mac Jones for Washington. Woo, my guy put on a performance against Washington. I was also really impressed with how he performed. Now, my guy Colin Cowherd, once again throwing shots at my guy Mac Jones, saying that he doesn't have a strong arm, he's not athletically built. Like, I'm just so tired of people continuing to downplay and hate on Mac Jones. And, like, same thing with what I just said about Zach Wilson. Like, people are just so stuck in their ways. Like, everybody keeps saying Mac Jones isn't talented, he doesn't have a strong arm, he doesn't have a lot of athleticism. Like, Bill Belichick doesn't give a doggone it about any of that stuff. What Bill Belichick cares about, and it has already been leaked how Bill Belichick scouts quarterbacks. He scouts with, one, can you read a defense? And two, are you accurate with the football? And then everything else comes after that. Mac Jones is good, and the two most important aspects that Bill Belichick looks at when considering and scouting a quarterback: accuracy and decision making. And that's what we saw on full display from Mac Jones against Washington. Like, Mac Jones was really good. He was throwing guys open. He was anticipating throws. He also had a nice deep ball that should have been caught for a touchdown by number 17. I can't remember what his name was, but he should have came down with that ball. So, like, I'm still, like, really upset that people in the mainstream media just continue to downplay Mac Jones. Like, I just hate it, man, because, like, people judge football players based on how big you are and how fast you run the 40 time, and that's why I continue to be wrong. Well, that's why I continue to, go against the mainstream media's, analysis of how they view certain players. And that's why I continue to be right compared to the mainstream media, and why I'm more accurate in my takes than the majority of those guys out there, because a lot of people just look at football from how big you are, how fast you are. Nobody looks at football about what a player brings when it comes to intangibles. Mac Jones brings a lot of intangibles, and we saw that on full display. He was 13-19 passing for 89 passing yards. He should have thrown 2 touchdowns in those games, but his wide receivers let him down. They had a couple of drop passes, but Mac Jones performed the way that I expected him to perform. He has been really good during training camp. Pretty much everything that has been said about Mac Jones during the offseason so far, we saw on full display. His decision making has been praised. His accuracy has been praised. He's throwing guys open. And a lot of people got to remember, the best football players are the ones who aren't athletically gifted. They're the ones who are able to make up from their lack of athleticism with their preparation and their mindset. Football, when you get to the NFL, it's a lot different from high school football and college football. And I actually played against Mac Jones in high school. I wasn't on defense or anything like that. I was a freshman in high school when we went against Mac Jones. I didn't really, I wasn't really on the field, but I actually saw Mac Jones play live. He played for Bowles High School, and he was really good. He was also really good against Alabama. And a lot of people just continue to down Mac Jones because everybody just wants this physical quarterback that's a physical specimen like a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance. And a lot of people have to realize that the best football players are the ones who are able to make up for the lack of athleticism and physical traits with how they prepare and how, their mindset is. The football that you play in high school and college football, you can get away with, just having pure athleticism in high school football and college football because you're just so physically dominant that you can just run away from everybody. You have this strong arm. You don't have to go through a lot of reads and stuff like that. But once you get to the NFL, athleticism is out the window. It doesn't matter how fast of a 40 time you run. It doesn't matter how far you can throw football. It doesn't matter how big you are, because at the end of the day, athleticism doesn't really get you that far. Your mindset and your mental preparation of the game is what gets you far in this league. If players were drafted if players were viewed upon based on, their physical traits, then DeMarcus Russell would have been the greatest quarterback of all time because he had this incredible size, he had this incredible arm. But you want to know why he was a bust? Because he couldn't understand the NFL from a mental standpoint. Your physical traits only get you so far until you become a pro. Once you become a pro, your mindset matters. And when you look at Mac Jones, he understands the game. And a lot of people keep saying that Mac Jones doesn't have a high ceiling. Like, you guys got to stop trying to put ceilings on people. Like, there are people who are saying that Joe Burrow didn't have a high ceiling. And look at it. Joe Burrow is already a top 10 QB. Like, you cannot predict how high potential a quarterback has, because certain quarterbacks are good in a certain system. Mac Jones is going to be a really great quarterback under Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels. He is their perfect, ideal QB. And Mac Jones can run. There were a couple of plays when he was able to break out of a sack and he was able to move up within the pocket and he was able to keep a play alive. Like, Mac Jones understands his limitations. And he understands how to overcome those limitations. Same thing with Drew Brees. Same thing with Tom Brady. These guys are cerebral quarterbacks when it comes to how they dissect the defense. And from what I saw last week, Mac Jones was dissecting Washington's defense. And I was really impressed with Mac Jones, man. Just being honest with you, he had some really good passes in the middle of the field. He also had some passes in the tight windows that should have been caught for touchdowns. Number 17 let him down. But, I mean, if he comes down with that, then he probably has a touchdown or two. So, Mac Jones, for right now, for my money, I think he is the best quarterback on the New England Patriots roster. And I know we didn't really get to see that much out of Cam Newton, but from what I've heard out of training camp and from what I saw this past weekend, I think that Mac Jones right now, if I was Bill Belichick and the season was to start tomorrow, I would name Mac Jones the starting quarterback. Like, I'm just really impressed because Mac Jones understands the game and he is a rookie. And that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. Like, you look at Trey Lance. Trey Lance had that one great throw. After that, he didn't really do anything that much. You can blame it on drops and everything else, but he simply wasn't ready. You get what I'm saying? Like, he had that one big play, and after that, what did he do? So when you look at Mac Jones, like, I see somebody who I don't really need to see 2 more preseason games out of Mac Jones because I already see the fact that he understands. He's dissecting coverages. He's reading the defense well. He's making good decisions with the football. Most rookie quarterbacks who aren't ready to start right away, they're not good when it comes to decision making, and they don't understand how to read defenses. Mac Jones does both of those things well, and at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to from the quarterback position. It also comes down to the scheme. Quarterbacks can be elevated by the scheme that they're in. Tom Brady was elevated by the New England Patriots scheme. Drew Brees was elevated by Sean Payton's scheme. You get what I'm saying? So for Mac Jones, he is a perfect fit in the Patriots offense. And I'm just so tired of people trying to push this bullcrap narrative that the Patriots can't contend with Mac Jones because he has a low ceiling. You don't know how high or how low somebody's potential is. It's just so many factors into it. That's why you don't really see me when it comes to me grading these players during the draft. Me giving them high ceilings, who has high upside and whatnot. If a guy does well, a guy does freaking well. Some people are just really good when it comes to overcoming their limitations. Those are the best football players. So I was really impressed with how Mac Jones performed in that game against Washington. And really, if you ask me, I think he really only threw 2 incompletions because you had a couple of drops in there. You also had a couple of drop touchdowns. So for Mac Jones, man, like, he was better than what the stats may indicate. And if you go back and watch that game like I did, I was actually watching the game live. I was watching him play and I was watching a couple of other games at the same time. But I was really impressed with how Mac Jones performed. He read defenses. He read the defense. He was dissecting coverages. He knew where to put the football. He was throwing guys open. That's what you want to see out of a young rookie quarterback.